Hi guys and girls, and welcome to Talking Heads podcast live from Pattaya, Thailand. I'm the host Dave D, and thank you for joining me here today, and thank you for joining our family. For you guys out there, of course, who have already subscribed to the channel, thanks a lot. And of course, for you guys out there that want to know all of what's coming up and happening, hit that notification bell right now. Of course, we are a listener-sponsored podcast. We survive from you guys liking us and we liking you. We're one big family. Thanks for joining us. There's a lot to come, and we'll see you soon. Don't forget all the links below. See you next time.
And
Bye.
with your host, Dave D. Join us weekdays. Check out all the latest updates on talkingheads-podcast.com.
And welcome to Pattaya, welcome to Thailand, and welcome to the show again. And of course, you join us down here live in the Talking Heads studio, of course, in the heart of Pattaya. Pim is at the end. How you doing? All right, Pen? You okay? She's here today. Down there in Mission Control, we have Bobby. Bobby's in there. How you doing, Bobs?
I'm doing good.
And of course, all the way over in Bristol, the UK, of course, Duncan Bridgeman. How are you doing? That's about how I feel, actually.
Yeah, I'm good today. It's a nice sunny day. It's very quiet over here in lockdown.
Yeah.
And life goes on the inside.
It does. I mean, I was just looking between me and you. I hope you don't mind me saying 1959. I was born 1961. A couple of years between us. So we're
just a little baby.
Just a little baby.
I turned 63 yesterday.
He's
Duncan.
an old dog. He's just.
I need an old dog. So look, I'm well framed between the baby and the dog.
I like that. Now, there's one thing that I was looking at as we're going to go along this journey with you guys. I mean, basically, where are we? For the people that don't know you, where are you from? I mean, where was you born and brought up?
I'm from East London.
East London.
Brought up in the 60s, different world, post-war world still. My mum was always shocked about how the fridge was always empty.
Wow.
And then she got real trauma when my sister's fridge got so full in the 80s. There we go, there's life.
I mean, yeah, it takes you back to the 60s, of course, you know, the old coupons, the stamps, rationing, things like that, when we could only go and get 2 eggs and a loaf of bread. I remember things like that coming out of the council house. I mean, was you the same kind of thing, council house, sort of like those estates? Did you come up on one of those?
The which one?
Did you come up on some kind of council estate? I mean, where in London?
No. I was middle class, mate.
Oh, I see.
I had a dad who worked in the city. He left at 8:14 every morning, got the 8:22 from Woodford Station, and went into the bank. And he sat in an office for, 40 years. You know, underwriting insurance and ringing bells and stuff.
So you was pretty well to do then.
No, but in the middle there somewhere.
Okay, let's put this easy. Did you have any trimmings on your Christmas tree?
Yeah, we had trimmings on.
See, posh,
you got me.
Posh. See, I'm not even going to go there. Bobby, what do you reckon? I mean, you know this guy, don't you? I mean, growing up. I mean, how were you in those days in America?
It was middle class, but it was a rough middle class in the 70s for sure.
Mm.
Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah. But I mean, London was, of course, in the 60s. I mean, it was a trending place, wasn't it? I mean, it's. As you know it, Duncan, and I know it from years past. I mean, it was a thriving place. It was a mix. It was a pot mix of like every culture there was. I mean, every shop was different. I mean, every music store was different. There was so many things going on then. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk now about bubbles. We've all had to put ourselves in family bubbles and this bubble, next bubbles. I mean, I was brought up in a fairly contained, a strong bubble. Yeah. I really never knew really what was going on beyond, walking to school and coming back and trying to deal with just growing up. I remember when I left when I was 18, because there was no weed, there was no nothing in my life, and then suddenly I got just a little bit inner city. I got to Islington, and I met the reggae music and the weed. And my life transformed.
I was going to say Islington, and of course the reggae music and the weed in them days was pretty strong, I would imagine.
So how did you drop into? How did you drop into music, Duncan?
Basically, I was working in a studio called the Music Works, and the clientele there was a lot of reggae and soul, and I learned stuff because I was brought up on prog, basically, Bowie, prog, Zeppelin, all that stuff. I didn't really hear any black music until I was in Islington. Oh my God, I blew my mind. And I formed a band with two other guys called Eye Level, and we were kind of a soul band, and we did okay.
And how was it? I mean, you know, when you say soul music, yeah?
Yeah, if you're of a certain generation...
James Brown?
Yeah, and you're listening to soul music in the early 80s, 81, 82.
Yep,
you would
sure.
know Eye Level. We had a song called Give Me, which was kind of quite a big hit.
Okay.
And was used in a few hip-hop versions later, which was really nice.
Give Me what?
But yeah, no, I was suddenly catapulted, and our first record was quite a big hit in the kind of New York club scene.
Right.
And of course, I had me and Joe, my friend, who we were producing the record with, this guy Sam. We had no idea what was going on at all. And suddenly, because this record did quite well, we were remixing and producing like Eurythmics, McCartney, Duran.
It's amazing.
We became a kind of hot.
It's amazing, though. It's amazing how it goes. I mean, you know, my background is DJ. I left England at a very small age and went around the world as a DJ for whatever. But it's very strange how I've met people over the years. At 1 minute, you know, they're struggling and they're doing this and they're doing that. And then suddenly they just get that one break and it just changes their whole life. And I mean, you know, like you said, you know, discovering reggae music, spliffs, and of course, all the soul music of those days of the 80s was brilliant.
Yeah, no, I was very lucky that it happened to me. I mean, you know, my first job in the studio and the first record we released did okay on Virgin, you know, internationally. So I was put, without really knowing anything, on a kind of, oh look, they're the hot kids, you know, let's give them work. And it was the 80s, so you know, we were on 500 quid a day. You know, like,
hello.
And now I get 500 quid to make an album. So that's kind of how it shifted. So yeah, the big breaks come, and then if you're lucky, other things just keep popping up along the way. You know, that was like 40 years ago, and I'm still making money and working and making albums and doing stuff. So I feel very, very blessed to be able to.
I mean, it's always good, and I mean, Bobby's the same, and I've been the same over the years, and that is that we're doing something that we love. You know, we're in entertainment, we're in music, we're in presenting, and I mean, it's just, you know, when you can do something you love, it's even more better, isn't it?
Oh, it does become a bit of a paradoxal problem. Is that once you start doing what you love and it becomes the way that you pay the bills, you have to start doing it. You have to watch yourself, and I've been through that curve as well. I've been through the curve of I was going to say something I probably shouldn't say, but yeah, you know, to use the Bill Hicks phrase, sucking on Satan's cock. Yeah, like doing what you have to do, but you know, like trying not to swallow.
We've all done that, mate. We've all had to. We've all had to suck it and see, mate. So we've all been there. You know, we've all played in shitholes. I mean, we've all done that.
I still do it every now and again. I've got to say, I don't really mind.
just reminds you of the good times, though.
Yeah, for the good times. As long as I'm recompensed suitably.
Bobby?
Duncan, when did you...
I'm bringing Bobby in there.
Hey, listen, Duncan, I want to tell you something, okay? If I don't bring this guy in, you want to see how hard he hits me? I've still got the bruises from last week.
So, Duncan, when did you and Jamie actually connect and start doing music together? What year was it? So you're talking about the 80s back then, but we're talking 90s, maybe late 90s?
Yeah, 96. I think 96, 97.
And how did that...
He was flying high in Faithless. They had the Can't Get No Sleep thing, rocking away. And he was the kind of hippie in Faithless. And we met. I was doing my last gig. I was in a kind of hippie band called Tribal Drift, which is kind of didgeridoo, techno, worldy music, as you know, the early 90s thing, ecstasy and all that. And because I'd stopped being a prop producer. The last album I'd done as a prop producer was Take That's first album. And then I'd realised I went up. Yeah, that was a difficult time, really. And then I decided I had to do what I loved rather than what we were talking about a minute ago. And I was in Tribal Drift, and I was doing a gig in Brighton, and my friend Jem had lent me and my girlfriend his room so we could stay in Brighton that night. And I met Jamie in the kitchen, and we had a couple of herbal cigarettes and noticed that we really had the same...
Connection?
Yeah, well, just the kind of idea of, you know, mixing things up and you know, like, we talked a lot about my life in the secret bush of ghosts. which is Eno and Bern.
Oh,
which,
yeah.
like mixed this kind of dialogue in with the music, and it wasn't rap, but they were taking
Spoken word
and spiritual concepts and mixing it in with African samples, and it's just like, right, let's do something like that. You know, let's see how far we can push the boundaries. How many disparate things can we mix together so they become one? And that was
so you started cutting demos at that point, and then realized that you had something, and you had what, 6 or 7 tunes in the bag?
Well, it was we went out on the shoot and in '99, the end of '99. So we'd had about 4 years, and in that time, Jamie's a very good cold caller. That's really like, he'll just call anybody and be charming, and suddenly they're in the studio. So we had Linton Crazy Johnson had come down, and Maxie, obviously from Faithless, we'd already done My Culture, and we'd done a few other things. But then when we had about, because we were making an album, we weren't making a film, we were just making a little independent, worldy kind of mashup album, because the sampling technology was just blossoming, and the whole S3000, and suddenly you could do incredible things with little tiny snippets of things. I mean, obviously now that changed a lot, but the excitement after, because I'd already been in the studio like for 20 years, 15 years, and when I first started, there was no computer in the studio, so I suddenly being born into this thing, I could chop up Herbie Hancock records and Bubba Mile records and take little bits and put them in the right key and mash them up together. I mean, literally, I didn't get any sleep through the 90s because I was staying up all night, totally excited by this new technology and what it was allowing me to do, and these dreams and ideas that I was forming.
I
was really lucky because at the same time I met Nitin Sawhney, and he came into my studio and I engineered his Migration album. And so I learned so much from him about Indian music and philosophy and hypnosis, and I mean, amazing guy. And then at the same time also in the late 90s, I was making a band for Save the Rhino, which was like 5 African musicians from different African countries. And I was MD and kind of producer of it to make something for Save the Rhino. And we did Glastonbury, and we did a show in Edinburgh Fringe. And again, so much knowledge in such a short amount of time. And I realized later that what I was actually doing was doing my pre-production for what was to become One Giant Leap.
And did you know you had something then at that point? Did you and Jamie know, have the feeling like we got something here and let's take it to the next level?
Yeah, but as you know, Bobby, I mean, so many things, you know, in life, you get involved with so many things that you get excited about but don't work out.
Of course, yeah.
Because of something or other. But although we were both excited, we had no idea what was really happening.
Did that kind of lock in? Did that kind of lock in when you met Chris?
Exactly. It was Chris that said we should make a film. We weren't even thinking of making a film at all. You know, we'd never made a film. I mean, Jamie had directed a couple of pop videos, but basically he was, you know, it was when we sat with Chris and he said, what do you want to do? And my big passion was that a laptop had just arrived, the first Mac laptop. And my whole thing was that I'd been in the studio for however long with people coming into my environment. I wanted to go to their environment. So we wanted to start in Senegal with Baba Mal, having a cup of tea, and we'd make some music together. And then we'd take that music on to see what happened next. But also, one thing I've forgotten that was really important was the idea was to replace all the samples that we'd done with the real deal. That kind of, we had an album kind of ready to go before we left. And the idea was just to take off the samples and replace it. But it went
far beyond that. I mean, I would call the, I mean, if I can say this right, I mean, One Giant Leap, I would say it's more like a patchwork quilt, if that makes sense to you, that all these little bits and bobs sort of like, they're all from all over the world, but actually when you put them together and you remix them together, they all blend really, really, really well. And of course, being in the engineer and the sound like Bobby is and play with sound, of course, some of the sounds compared to a sample, you know, is like you said, it's another dimension.
Yeah, well, it can breathe, where a sample, I mean, especially at that time when a sample couldn't be more than a second and a half long. Anyway. But yeah, I'll say 2 things about that. One, I I hate, isn't that horrible when that happens in your mind? Just goes, I'll say two things, and then you go, what?
I was on about the patchwork quilt.
Okay. So in my filing system, I call them jigsaw pieces. So that's quite accurate. You know, I have on both One Giant Leap project and my Mexico project, I have a folder called jigsaw pieces, which is basically the raw stuff.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'd say is because the way we worked, which was basically everybody who joined in rather than producing something new. So they had a beat and a key and a concept that they were coming into. So that gave it the backbone and the structure for them to sit on. So otherwise it would have been too ridiculous. So the big idea was really to have a Senegalese drummer with a Maori rapper and a guitarist in New York all playing together. And so it's not world music. It's more music of the world rather than, regionalized. It was the idea was to make it all cohesive.
Bobby?
Brilliant. Yeah, I have to say, Duncan, I have watched One Giant Leap after you had released it and my friend Pamela Poland from Hawaii turned me on to it. I've probably watched it 100 times and recognized you and Jamie as these two amazingly creative human beings. And also your film crew that actually cut it up and the film crew that you took on the road with you. And
Benji especially, yeah.
But when you go from One Giant Leap and you came into the second one, What About Me? I mean, how did that sort of where did that come from? I mean, is that just an extension?
Without getting too deep and philosophical, which I'm probably about to do, I don't actually believe in free will. I think we are all reactive beings that responding to the universe flowering around us. And each moment seamlessly going into the next moment. Never a mistake, everything just flowing beautifully. And for me to think that I've got any sway on that is, I think, a little arrogant. And actually, what happened in that moment was this flowering, like from the One Giant Leap, because we obviously I knew what I was doing. I know how to record, I know how to arrange, I know how to do this chord. There's a lot of stuff that I'd learnt, but there was no way that I knew what I was going to do with that knowledge. And so the same thing happened with the second one. But the second one, we kind of thought we knew what was going on. Of course, we didn't. Because in all kinds of avenues, we had no idea where it was. And in the end, it didn't really get released. It got to our network, but we'd signed to a great big company who didn't really understand what we were doing. By the time we handed it in, that company had been signed on to another company, and we just got filed away at the back of a filing cabinet. So it's all a lesson, isn't it? It's all a lesson.
One Giant Leap was a release date, 2004, is that right?
No, 2001. We've got the 20 years coming up next year, and we'll talk about that.
So 2001, the 20 years coming up, I mean, how about, One Leap Revisited or something like that? I mean, is there any way that you would revisit any of the places that you went to?
Yes, but we probably won't.
Okay.
I mean, if this funny thing that's just happened hadn't happened, then I would probably be carrying on jet setting and wandering off to Ghana but I have a feeling that time has passed, and I think that local is the important aspect now.
Right.
And I think that people's attitudes. I mean, there's also being a middle-aged white man. I am kind of the enemy in a lot of ways now, and I have to be really careful. And like now when we're talking about projects with my middle-aged white man friends, it's not that I'm excluding anybody, but we all have our networks that we live in. And so now here I am in Bristol, and I'm really thinking that Jamie was here yesterday, and we were talking exactly about doing either the same structure that we do, same format that we do, but not going to Africa and not going to Thailand and not just staying here in West England and celebrating that. Because the other thing about the One Giant Leap and the Mexico film that I made, it's all about the bigger issues of life that have no answer. There is no answer to what happens after you die. There is no answer to how do you deal with your childhood wounds. But other than communicating that to each other and realizing that we're all wounded and we are all struggling with this automatic behavior that we've been programmed with. And that's what me and Jamie are really interested in, is like, and I think globally now the time now is to move past our automatic programmed behavior and look at life in a new way. I mean, I know there's a lot of people in a lot of trouble right now, like, and it's not, it's a difficult time. But within that, I really feel that there's a birth of something new. Which we're not going back.
Definitely.
We've been living a dysfunctional way for a long time. Now's the opportunity. The door's open. Let's do it.
Let's clean it up.
I think that a lot of people take situations and places and people for granted a lot before this happened. And I think with what's happened now, I think that, okay, it is bad, but I think that it's opened people's minds up compared to what they were before. They were very shuttered, and I think it's brought people closer together, and also people that wouldn't have connected before are now connecting, which I think is very strong.
Very much so. I mean, it's weird in that we're connecting on this digital thing, and in a way, we are living in the Matrix. And there is a side to the mind control that's going on. I mean, I know about all that, and that's a reality. But it's also an opportunity to move forward. I think
it's changed a lot of people's aspects on life. Me and Bobby have spoken about this before, haven't we, Bobby? And I mean, it's Bobby, he's heavier into it than I am. But I can't believe the people that sort of get in contact and say the things that they wouldn't have ever said before. Prior March, they'd never even say it. But now it's like it's like a two-way mirror. Yeah, no, it's certainly different. Let's not go too far down that rabbit hole. But yeah, it's a doorway. We're in a doorway. I feel very blessed to be in this time. I've been in lockdown really since March. I mean, lockdown finished in the summer and everybody kind of went out. But I'm actually enjoying it, the opportunity to look at life in a way, because I'm not looking for work at the moment. Yeah, I'm not doing parties and festivals and cinema and going to the pub, and that leaves a lot of space to actually, what is life once you take those take them bits away.
Yeah.
When you're stripped away to the rawness of yourself, it's a different way of life, isn't it? It's a challenge. Well, it's like I used to say: the more jewelry that you put on yourself, the more heavier you weigh. So as soon as you start taking that jewelry off and you release yourself,
and the more likely you'll be robbed.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I was see, I was trying to be nice. Now he's talking. We're getting robbed now, Bobby.
Life.
I understand.
That's the thing. We all expect that everything's going to be good, and we want, but it's not all good.
No.
There is absolute evil alive in the planet right now. Because of course there is. Because everything is alive right now on the planet.
And robbed was the right word, by the way. We are being robbed, by the way.
Yeah.
What about sort of future projects? You say that you're not doing anything now. That you're
I'm not looking for work. It doesn't mean I'm not working. Okay. I'm here. I'm in my little room here. The technology that's available now, I can travel. I can fly so high.
Yeah.
And I've just finished an album with a guy called Antauma, who's a kind of he's a rapper from Southeast London, but also he's done a lot of Hindu mantra chanting. He does the Vedic, and he does the ayahuasca songs. So he has this mix of like a weird mix of current spiritual language. There we go. And we've just finished, and we don't know what we're going to do with it, but we just finished this album. It's really great. I'm working with Jamie. He's done a series. I've worked on 2 of them called The Happening, where he invites a set of musicians that he likes, and we improvise. And we went to Greece a couple of years ago, and we had a week with Liam from the Hot House Flowers, who is absolutely amazing, and Zap Mama, and Dave Randall from Faithless, and a few other musicians. And we improvised for like 5 days, and then I edited it down, and I've got it down to about an hour now, and it's amazing. It's like nothing else you've ever heard. So I'm doing that, and me and Jamie were saying, it was so great because he said nobody's forcing us to do this, and
No.
nobody wants it. Nobody's saying, when's that going to happen? And nobody's paying us, but here we are, happy, enjoying what we're doing.
No pressure. No pressure.
No pressure. And with your thing earlier on, when you said, isn't it great when you can do what you love
Work.
every day? But it's even better when you don't have to make money out of it and you
Yeah.
can really do what you want, what you love.
Work is love made visible. Khalil Gibran.
Work is
Yeah.
love made visible. Yes, Bobby. So Bobby, we've known each other for a long time now. I mean, we played. He did a Bobby. I was at the Sanctuary down there in Thailand.
Yeah,
2009.
Was that a New Year's gig?
2009. Okay.
Yeah, we played
And
New Year's
I
at
did a
Michael's
New
place.
Year's- a New Year's Eve gig we did together, and Bobby came and played guitar.
That was wonderful, man.
Yeah.
What an
that
honor to
was
play with you, and we got to
such a
hang.
great-
We got to hang that whole week after too.
Yeah.
But
that was really good.
we originally met in Hawaii. Of course, I knew about your work, and I knew about One Giant Leap, and I had, like I said, I've watched it over 100 times. But talking about Hawaii, I don't know if you're aware that Willie K, who was featured in What About Me, passed about 6 months ago. You know about that, yeah?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. One of the most amazing talents that has ever come through Hawaii.
And a very funny man to boot.
Very funny, amazingly creative, funny. What a brilliant musician. Yeah, namaste.
And the guy, the guitarist. What was the guitarist's name? We had the slack guitar player.
Keola Beamer?
Was that his name?
Yeah, Keola Beamer.
And he's at the beginning of What About Me. He plays the guitar at the beginning of What About Me.
Yeah.
Wow, that was such a beautiful time. I mean, when I look back on it now, I mean, how did that? I have no idea how that happened, really. When people say, they think we had this kind of master plan where we wrote a big document and we're going to do all this and then we'll do that. We had no script, no storyboard, no idea.
And
But that's the best thing, though. That's the best. It's the best.
you guys wung it so good.
It's the best. I mean, it's just
we wung it. Yeah, we did. We wunged it.
But I mean, out of that, of course, you got some nice snippets. You got some nice bits along the way. Like we said, all those pieces are sort of mashed in together well, haven't they? At the end of it, I mean,
I'm just on what I'm doing now is actually now because I'll just talk a little bit about the 20-year anniversary.
Sure.
I sent Bobby a little thing I've cut, which is like a 20-minute piece, which covers the kind of story of One Giant Leap with excerpts from the film and me and Jamie. So that's the beginning of it. And I don't know if you've got a site that you could post that on so anybody could watch.
Absolutely.
Who's watching this.
Absolutely.
We have posted it.
But I've contacted the manager who got us the deal with Chris Blackwell because he was Robbie Williams' manager at the time. And it was him that took our project to Chris Blackwell. So I contacted him and I said, look, it's 20 years. Do you think Chris would be interested? So we've written to him and I've got a new album, which is like remixes and extra mixes that were never on the original album. And I've remastered everything and made it raised it to HD so it looks better. And now I own What About Me, the second one. So this year or next year, we're hoping just to give it, I'm not expecting it to be a massive hit or anything, but just to make it visible again. So all the people like Bobby who have loved it for 20 years can just re-experience it and we can have a little, wasn't that fun moment. And who knows, Gaia might take it. We might, like Jamie's just had a big hit. He made the Ramdas film that it's been #1 on Gaia. So he's
Wow.
flying high on that. And that was good because we worked together on that as well. So that was one of the things that brought us back together. Mm-hmm. And I say that in the way that, like in often creative relationships, after the second One Giant Leap, we got properly divorced.
Yeah. It happens, isn't it?
And now, yeah, exactly. But what's beautiful is
Now
that
you're having a fling
what's
again.
Going on, and that was the subject that we were talking about.
Music.
How do we deal with our wounds?
Musical marriage is always like that. You know that.
Yeah, but we're back now, and as I say, he was here yesterday, and he's been through shit, and I've been through shit, and we're like dysfunctional brothers, me and him, and it's great.
We love it though, don't we, Bobby? I mean, we like doing what we're doing now over here in Thailand. It's still nice. I mean, we're on lockdown over here, sort of the country. I think it's going to come clean soon, isn't it, Bobby?
Yeah, they're saying they're going to open Thailand in May.
Yeah, it's definitely put the squeezers on them over here. definitely. But it has all over the place. So I mean, what can we do?
Yeah.
So when is this when this edition that you're talking about, Duncan? When is it going to be released? Because now would be a beautiful time to release it. Actually, while everyone's sitting in their studios in their rooms, and fly it out to Santana, who was participating on What About Me, and fly it out to Michael Franti and see what happens. You know.
Yeah, no, totally. But first, I have to get permission because at the moment, because it's mine, but it's not mine. So if I post anything, it just gets taken down because I don't own it. So
Unbelievable.
the main thing I want from Chris Blackwell is him to give me a license to my company.
There you go.
So then I can do it. And I agree that now would be a great time, but when it happens, that'll be a great time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have the same.
One thing I will say about that, really crazy, is like One Giant Leap is full of little boxes with people with headphones on and microphones, which is what you see everywhere now. Every time I see it, it's like One Giant Leap. So we actually did the first isolation movie in 1999, which I'm kind of proud of.
That was foreseeing the future, by the way.
Foreseeing, yes, I am. There was Nostradamus, and then there was One Giant Leap.
The all-seeing eye. So what can we say? I mean, you know, the future holds when things get back to normal. Besides doing the 20-year anniversary thing, I mean, anything in your head that you'd like to sort of do in the coming years? Any sort of things that you think the light's going on, or are you just going to go with the flow?
So I turned 60 a year ago.
I turn 60 next year. How was it?
You can't ignore 60.
He's
like
60.
spiritually.
I've been trying to ignore 63.
64 is 63. You are. You're 63. Culturally.
Yeah, okay. You can try, but I don't think you can. So
It doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. So basically, the weird thing for me is that my dad got forced retirement at 60, and it really hurt him. He didn't know it was coming. And suddenly they said, we don't need you anymore, and they gave him his pension, which is nice, but he thought he had another 5 years at work, and it really fucked him up. And weirdly, I've kind of got forced retirement myself in that I hit 60 and they just shut the whole world down. Now, obviously, I mean, I know that I'm not the centre of everything and it's all about me, but in my world, I am the centre of everything and it is all about me. So I'm taking this situation now of not being at work and become a hobbyist in music. So I want to sustain that a little bit more. Like we're saying, I'm doing things just for love. I'm not rich, but I'm not poor.
No.
I've got no pension and I probably haven't got enough money forever, but
who cares?
I'm okay. So,
who cares?
And I'm so grateful for that. I bought me this flat. The first time I've ever bought a flat. I bought it. I moved in 2 weeks before lockdown.
Congratulations.
So there's a lot of symbiotic things happening that, again, I don't plan. Anybody who says I did this and then I did that and I planned it, they're lying because things just happen.
Duncan, do you think this? I mean, it's just an easy question that I think has happened to a lot of us. Before, all of us, not just you, a lot of people, all of us, we're all wrapped up in this day by day, doing what we do. We love with this, we love that, we love this, we're doing this, we're doing that. Then suddenly, somebody pulls the shutter down, like you say, and goes, now you've just got to think about you. And you've got to take care of you. I mean, that's when we sort of, and me included, and probably Bobby, and I stood back, and I've got a family, and I stood back, and I go, what are we going to do now? You know, all these doors have been shut around me now. All the doors I go through every day to do whatever I do are now locked. So now you're on your own, and then suddenly your mind starts to move in mysterious ways, and things that you used to think weren't in your brain, suddenly they are. Do you find that?
Yeah. Or you're aware of it, and awareness. I consider myself a Buddhist, and I've been toying with the idea of Buddhism and meditation for many years, maybe 30 years. But since March, I have a really beautiful teacher, Martin Aylward, who I can't recommend highly enough, who translates the Buddha's message in such a beautiful way that makes it current and not in a translated, because he says the Buddha's message was largely translated by European Christian intellectuals. And so it has this kind of, the suffering thing and lots of words that maybe the Buddha didn't actually mean. even the word free will is like, it's got this kind of
Loose.
Christian guilty shame thing to it. So Martin translates it into a beautiful way. And so since then, for the last 6 months now, or however long it's been, you know, I'm committed because there's nothing else to do. So I sit. I go, so what shall I do? I'll just go and sit again, and I watch myself.
Yeah.
So awareness is what's happened for everybody, and I think it's really important. And I think that Radio 4 here, for example, is not. I mean, there's a lot of things people could be doing. Normal people who that they don't understand, like meditating, has got this mysticism around it. I mean, there should be Radio 4 every morning at 8 o'clock. We should all be sitting and being still,
relaxing.
And breathing.
Yeah, sure.
Meditate.
Breathing. It's, you know, and it's not happening. All you get is the fear and how many people have died yesterday. And so the awareness that people are getting through the frame being taken away, they're not being given constructive concepts to deal with this time. So yeah, I have full sympathy for everybody. There's so many people lost.
I think
the frame got taken and the doors got closed.
I think where you've just said the lost bit comes in. I mean, you know, the thing is, everybody's talking about this is happening, this is bad, this is everybody's sort of negative in what's sort of happening, and they're bringing all the negative stuff out. But actually, if you got the people out there shouting about all the positive stuff and what you could do to relax and help yourself and push it out there to people, just the same way as they're putting out all the bullshit about what's happening. I mean, I think it would be a different place, Bobby. What, you think that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I do. I really think that. How's it?
It's weird. It's so weird. The obsession.
Yeah.
With what's going wrong.
Yeah, me and Alan, you know, we could talk about this all day, and we've all
nobody wants to get vaccinated. That's the big obsession right now.
Yeah, but again, it depends which bubble you're in. I mean, my sister,
she wants to get vaccinated.
Really good for me. Because there's another. I move one out of my bubble and into another bubble.
Sure.
And there's a whole different outlook. That's the incredible thing that's becoming more and more obvious. That, you know, I live in this little hippie bubble, you know, where there's a certain set of rules and a certain set of beliefs.
Yeah.
But take one step left, just to my sister, and she, you know, when I say people don't want to take vaccines, you said, well, they're fucking crazy. And maybe they are.
Maybe,
I don't know.
Maybe they are. I mean, Bobby, you got something to say on this. You know this thing.
Well, her bubble thinks that, and our bubble thinks differently, and that's what we're dancing around.
I mean,
the dance we do.
I mean, do you think that it's going to come? I don't think that it's going to be compulsory. I mean, what's the country that's already pulled out, so they're not doing it? Singapore?
If it wasn't mandatory, that would be okay with me, but the whole thing about traveling is going to really affect everybody.
Absolutely.
Good. Let's stop traveling, I say. Come on. We've all been flying around in aeroplanes that are the worst fuel, nasty. Let's stop all the aeroplanes and let's just stay quiet and stop thinking that we go, oh, I'm going to go over here and do that. No.
Yeah, the environment actually has cleaned up quite a lot.
I mean, Thailand itself, I mean, where we are, I mean, down the south of Thailand now, you just can't believe it. I mean, the ocean has gone back to crystal. You know, the sands are coming golden again. The streets are becoming clean again. You know, I mean, there is, besides the negative, there is the positive. You know, and I mean, it's definitely changed.
So much. Come on. No, we weren't happy before. We didn't like it when we all knew that we were on a fucking fast train to a brick wall. The revolution has happened. Let's go. Okay, what can we bring into this new world? It's the age of Aquarius. The hippies were right.
Bobby, do you want to jump in there last before we say goodbye?
Duncan, it's always an honor to be in your presence, brother. Let's do another. I'd like to talk to him about the Kumbh Mela, but maybe next time we can do another one.
We can do part 2. Is that okay with you, Duncan?
I've got nothing else to do. I'm happy to talk. There's nothing more fun about talking about me. Enough about me. What do you think about me?
I think you're very talented.
I love and respect you, bro.
Absolutely.
You're my idol.
You should be very proud of what you've done. One Giant Leap is a good. It's very nice.
And maybe next time we can have you and Jamie on together, and you guys can, share the stage together.
Yeah, we're doing a show together on the 20th of December, the longest night, solstice thing, for Awoken TV, and we're doing 3 hours. I'll make sure you know about that so you can post that out.
Sure.
People want to hear me gibber a bit more, but yeah, let's have Jamie on.
Yeah, come on. I mean, there's no format to this. Like you said, we're winging it now, and that's how it works. And I mean, that's what we like to do here, winging it at Talking Heads. That's all we do, isn't it? We haven't even got a studio piece of script. You know that? You're so tight.
Right.
Trying to be in the moment here.
We are at the moment, anyway.
But about the Kumbh Mela, I'd like to, if you would like to touch on the availability of watching that, because you haven't sent me a copy, so I don't really even know where to find it. Yeah,
I'll send it. Yeah, it's on the same. Basically, all my films are on my Vimeo.
Okay.
It's a bit chaotic, so if you go there, it can go. Oh, it's a lot of shit. But I'll send you.
So we can post
that as well, so you can post that.
So we can post your Vimeo links on the YouTube links that we're going to be putting out. Yeah,
exactly. I'll send you a lot of stuff, and you can post whatever you want to post.
Fantastic.
Wherever you want to post it.
Fantastic.
Pretty cool, yeah. When you just said with the next one you want to do is what you want to go around the UK and pick up the sounds, or do you want to keep it sort of localish to where you are?
I've got this idea called Mind the Gap, and the idea is the world has ended and the new world hasn't quite started yet, and we're in this gap, and there's a lot of beautiful energy lurking here, and ideas and the idea of what are we bringing through, what are we letting go, and also the idea of being mindful, and just that whole metaphor of being between there and there. And we're all going, well, what, because the money thing has got a bit dubious, and the environment's got a bit, everything's got a bit like kind of, we're not quite sure, because although we think, we're destroying the environment, then there's stories everywhere that we stop for 6 months. And the world just goes, whee! The birds come back into the city, and the water flows out all the rubbish and gets clean again. So, there's a lot of ways of looking at stuff, and that's what I'm interested in.
I mean, we've said before, haven't we? That just by stopping. I mean, Attenborough did a good thing on his. I don't know if you'd seen it, David Attenborough. He did like a program that he called his Last Will and Testament. If you've seen that on about the planet, and he was saying, that there's 33% left, and there's 7.2 billion. There's going to be 11 billion, and there's only going to be 16 left if we don't do something. But by just making that one little, even this. I mean, now what's happened now is regenerating the earth. Whatever we say. It's regenerating itself as we speak. Nature is doing that. What I think it has done for a lot of people, Duncan, it's basically, it's brought out creativity in a lot of people. I think a lot of people that have been stuck at home, who wouldn't do things normally, I think a lot of good in the way of creativity and the new way of thinking is evolving.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Netflix as well, and bottles of wine.
That's the other side to the coin.
It's all there. That's the thing. Never forget. Pure good and pure evil and everything in between is here on the planet right now.
Absolutely.
Coexisting like it always has and it always will. There's nothing going wrong and there's nothing going right. It's just going, and it's, and we're here for the ride, and we're not that important.
And we're just winging it for now, aren't we? I mean, that's what we're doing.
Winging it.
Listen, we're gonna come back. We're gonna have part 2. Hopefully, we'll get the other guys on. Is that all right with you, Bobby?
Absolutely. Let's get Jamie on.
Yeah. Is that all right? All right with you, Duncan? Have we done okay today? Enjoyed it?
Next week, I think. So maybe we can make a date.
Have you enjoyed it? Have we been okay for you?
Absolutely great.
Good. Bobby?
Lovely, Duncan. Great to see you, brother. I miss playing music with you. We had some nice circles down in Kopangan, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a wonderful
and actually,
time.
Since lockdown, my picking has really gone through the roof. I can do proper 3-finger picking now. Like, wow.
Beautiful.
It's made me really happy. Every day I do about an hour of it.
Competition,
Beautiful.
Bobby. Competition now, Bobby.
Lovely competition.
No, not with Bobby. Goodness me.
Well, what a man.
Master.
He's a master.
Dribbling around.
Get out of here, bro.
All right,
you are the master.
We're gonna look forward to part 2. Thanks a lot for joining us today, Duncan.
All right, then.
It's been really good to catch up with you, and we're looking forward to part 2 and also what's happening in the future. Yeah. Thank you, Bobby.
Namaste, brother.
Namaste.
Talking Heads podcast live from Pattaya, Thailand, with your host Dave D. Join us weekdays. Check out all the latest updates on talkingheads-podcast.com.